Guys, we're back with Let's Play Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies. We're about to jump into episode 4, the Cosmic Turnabout. The courtroom bombing incident. A terrible attack launched by the will of a madman. That incident perfectly symbolizes the state of the legal world in this dark age of the law. Mr. Wright brought it to a resolution of sorts. Ted Tonin was discovered to be the one responsible for the bombing. If only it were that simple. Somehow, I can't help but think that there's a darker influence at work. One that's lurking in the shadows, waiting. That's why I want to review the trial that was taking place when the bombing occurred. After all, I've got more than a few personal stakes in it. Episode 4, The Cosmic Turnabout.
Complete. Everything's A-okay. We're ready here whenever you are.
What the hell? Someone blew up the missile.
Come in at 2. Come in. Do you copy?
Holy crap. And he's stabbed. Damn. Time for another trial to begin. But this one is different. Sorry to bother you, but are you alright, Apollo? Was I making a scary face just now? Oh, hi, Juniper. I'm fine. I was just doing my cords of steel exercises. Now I'm all ready to go. Yes, knowing you, I'm sure you will be just fine. Oh, I brought you a present from my garden. Is this a lotus root? That's right. My grandma says lotus root is good for your eyes. She even says that if you look through the holes, it can help you see into the future. It's for good luck. Maybe later you can cook it and... Thanks for this. I'm gonna have some right now. Oh my... Crunch. Kinda tough, though. You can't eat it raw, but thank you for the enthusiastic try. Oops. She didn't think me weird before. She will now. I've got to calm down. Apollo! I'm sorry I'm late. Hi, Athena. Junie. I didn't know you were coming today. Did you come to cheer Apollo on? Oh, I get it. You sly little thing, you. Athena, stop. Quit kidding around, Athena. The trial is about to start any second. Is everything all set? Oh, Apollo. When will you ever figure it out? Figure what out? Wow, that was the longest sigh I've ever heard. This is it. It's all over for me. They're gonna find me guilty. This is our client, one Mr. Solomon Soul Starbuck. He's a very famous astronaut who happens to be an acquaintance of mine. You wouldn't know it right now, but he's usually a very upbeat and driven person. The scene of the crime this time happened to be the Cosmos Space Center. Back in high school, my best friend and I went there almost a little too much. But that's where we met Mr. Starbuck. We'd asked about space travel, and he'd launch into story after story with so much passion. Back in those days, the man was 100% my hero. Now, are you sure you're okay with being my lawyer, Apollo? Of course I'm sure. I know you, Mr. Starbuck. I know you're not the type to commit murder. Thanks, but... I was supposed to be in space right about now. He's so depressed. It almost seems like an act. The launch getting called off must have been a huge shock. And I'll probably never get the chance to go into space again. Don't say that. Don't stop believing. Besides, you just have to go into space again. You just have to go into space again. Yeah, I don't think I could face Clay in the afterlife if I just rotted away in a cell. Clay Tarrant. I can't believe he was murdered. I mean, he was such a promising astronaut under your command. Yeah, he was a good guy. Always there to pick me up when I was down. He looks cool. No one loved life as much as him, that's for sure. He was always so full of energy, telling me, "You're fine, Mr. Starbuck." How could something like this happen to a guy like him, huh? I've never seen Mr. Starbuck so down. Clay's gone and I'm going to prison. I wish I could burn up like a shooting star right now. Mr. Starbuck, you'll be fine. No, what is it? What's with the yelling? I'll get to the bottom of this today, you'll see. In exchange, I want you to go back into space for you and Clay. Promise? Does that mean you have lots of evidence to prove my innocence? Oh, well, about that. We didn't get to investigate the area as much as I'd have liked, thanks to the police. I'm done for. I'm a goner. Everybody thinks I did it. Thought I was gonna soar like a comet, but I'm just gonna crash like a meteorite. No, don't say that, Mr. Starbuck. Don't count yourself out yet. I know it's hard to lose a teammate, but you've got to keep going. And what about you, Apollo? What about me? I was just thinking, wasn't Clay your best friend? Oh yeah, so Clay was his best friend. We need to focus on the trial right now. Are you all ready to go? Apollo. Damn.
The trial is about to begin, and if the defense would please proceed into the courtroom.
Damn, that's messed up. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is one trial I can't afford to lose. For Clay's sake, and our clients, I will find Clay's killer. Damn. I was noticing, because Clay's jacket is the one that Apollo was wearing, or it looked like it at least. From that picture, like the little the brim part. Day 1. Court is now in session. All rise.
Court is now in session for the trial of Solomon Starbuck.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. Oh, why's he got that on his eye?
Excuse me, Mr. Justice.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to your eye?
I'm fine. The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Are you sure?
I'm fine, Your Honor. The defense is ready! I'm sorry, Your Honor. He's been like this since yesterday. He keeps insisting it's just a sty.
I suppose it's something he doesn't want to discuss. Maybe he's entering a touchy age.
Damn, so he's changing. This is the case where he's really turning.
Very well. And the prosecution? The prosecution appears to be ready as well.
Silence.
Not yet. I'm not quite ready yet.
Ah!
The prosecution is now ready. Well, it didn't take him long this time. What's up with Blackwell?
Now then, I shall give the opening statement.
Silence.
Damn, he's gonna give it? I'll do it.
You will? Well, what an unexpected surprise.
This time I can't leave it to anyone else.
I see. Something is off with the two of you today.
Yes, it definitely is.
You both seem different somehow. Very well. Prosecutor Blackwell, your opening statement, if you would.
It was just yesterday. The crimes in question occurred at the Cosmos Space Center.
Ah, that famous federal research facility of all things related to astrology, right?
Astronomy. It's astronomy. Anyway, a rocket was set to launch from there. But at 9:28 a.m., before they could even move the rocket to the launch site, two explosive devices were detonated and the launch was cancelled. I wonder if they really went like sparring with swords and he cut his eye or something.
My word. 2 bombs. How dreadful.
The defendant in today's trial is charged with both the bombing and with murder. One's Mr. Solomon Starbuck. For whatever insane reason he detonated a bomb on the rocket he himself would be in.
Solomon Starbuck. I recognize that name. Isn't he that famous astronaut?
Correct your baldness. Mr. Starbuck was the pilot of the HAT-1 rocket 7 years ago. The HAT-1 rocket. As you may recall, despite some interstellar trouble, his mission was a success. Some say it was a miracle he returned alive. I suppose you could say he's a living legend.
Oh, I remember now. He's become something of an international celebrity, right?
The HAT-1 miracle. It's a movie?
They even turned that incident into a movie and everything. We've got a real space pioneer in court today.
But even heroes tumble from their lofty heights. Returning to the subject at hand.
Yes, the victim was one Mr. Clay Terran, a subordinate of the defendant.
Indeed, a loyal disciple brutally stabbed to death by his mentor.
Stabbed to death, you say? You mean his death wasn't a result of the bombing?
Correct. Despite his lofty dreams, the victim was seen as an interloper by the defendant. And so he was sent not into space, but to the universe which we mortals cannot see. Clay.
I think I've heard enough. The case seems pretty clear-cut at this point. However, there is one thing I'm curious about. That metal box next to the witness stand.
What?
What purpose does it serve exactly? That's the bomb disposal box.
Since you asked so nicely. It's your coffin.
Ah! Have mercy on me!
I jest. It's evidence. Due to its immense size, we've little choice but to lay it where it rests now. We shall get to the contents of the box in due time.
Phew. I feel like I just lost 50 years of my life.
Does he even have 50 years left? Inner monologue, Athena. Inner monologue. Enough jabbering.
Bobby Fulbright's the name, and just as we trust. Ah, Detective Fulbright. Very well then. Please explain the details of this incident to the court, if you would. On it. First, take a look at this pamphlet from the Cosmos Space Center. In it, you'll find a diagram outlining the overall layout of the Space Center. Ah, here we are. For a more detailed look at what's on the left side of this building, take a look at this cross-section that we, the police, have created. See the launch pad in the main building? The launch pad is the square building and the rounded structure is the main building. You got it. The incidents took place in Launch Pad 1 and in the main building's lounge. I'll be using this diagram during my testimony. It'll make it easier to understand.
I'm not really working with anything here. No evidence, really.
Just before the rocket was set to launch, 2 bombs went off. Boom! Boom! One on the second floor of the Space Center's main building and one in the launch pad. Thankfully, only the 2 astronauts were in Launch Pad 1 at the time. The 2 of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge, but after the escape, one of the 2 was found stabbed to death. A murder on top of a bombing? Detective, the victim was already dead by the time you arrived at the lounge, correct? Yep. Thinking he'd sabotaged the bombing, the defendant attacked and killed the victim. Just look at this tragic photo. Damn. Oh my, is that a knife in the victim's chest? Yes, Your Honor. It's the knife that cruelly ended this young man's dreams. We couldn't get any prints off of it, though, because the defendant was in his spacesuit. A utility knife. By the way, Detective Fulbright, why are the victim's helmet and right glove absent in this photograph? We had to remove them to identify him, Your Honor. I personally removed his glove during the investigation. We had to get his fingerprints to confirm his identity, after all. Yes. It would be very difficult to identify him without a face or fingerprints. Now there's just one more thing I'd like to inquire about. What is this round thing next to the victim in this photo?
Something so important to the victim, he took it with him as he escaped the launch pad. A capsule that apparently contains asteroid samples. While obviously valuable for research purposes, it has no relation to this case.
I see.
So we know that the bomb in the main building was on the second floor. But where was the bomb that was in Launch Pad 1 located?
That one was on the rocket itself. It was situated around the central part of the rocket. Apparently the area around the launch pad's elevator was a sea of flames. I would like to submit this diagram and report into the records.
The trial's just started and we're already in a bind. You get used to it. Besides, that's what cross-examination is for, right? What the 2 astronauts were doing during the bombing. That'll be the key. Cross-examination time.
Just before the rocket was set to launch, 2 bombs went off. Boom, boom.
How powerful were the explosions?
Well, the one in the main building wasn't strong enough to bring the place down. But the room it went off in was burned black. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Due in large part, of course, to me stepping up to lead the evacuation.
Wait, what were you doing there in the first place, Detective Fulbright?
I'm Bobby Fulbright, hero of justice. I'll be there wherever and whenever people need my help. I'd go to the other side of the world or even the edge of the universe.
I'm not sure he knows how far that actually is. But I guess I'll leave that one alone. Admiral decision, Justice Dono.
Huh? What's he decided?
Anyway, could you describe what it was like at the Space Center at the time?
The bomb cut the power to the central bank of elevators in the third floor lounge. It was pitch black in there, I tell you. However, the security cameras and whatnot were running on emergency backup.
And how did the evacuation go?
I immediately and heroically whisked people down to the Space Center's basement shelter. The basement shelter? Yes, there's an emergency shelter beneath the Space Center.
An emergency shelter, huh? Oh, here it is. It's at the bottom of the diagram. The Space Center is pretty impressive to have its own shelter. Okay, the evacuation report ad? The power outage and evacuation seems unrelated to the murder at this point. I guess I'll leave that aside for now. So there were 2 explosions in total, correct?
Yup, that's right. One on the second floor and the Space Center and the launch pad.
Let me get this straight. Mr. Starbuck rigged a rocket he was going to board with explosives.
Huh? What are you talking about?
If the defendant really did plant the bomb on his own rocket, he'd get caught in the explosion as well.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, because usually people that rig explosives on bomb places they're going don't get caught in it. What's wrong with our judge?
Fine. A simpleton for a simpleton. Fulbright. The motive.
Understood. The defendant actually had astrophobia.
Astrophobia? What's that?
A fear of space, naturally. Just the thought of space can cause the afflicted to freeze up. And so in his terror, the defendant found a way to stop the launch at the last minute.
That's absurd.
Unfortunately for you, we have evidence. Take a look at these.
What are they?
These anti-anxiety tablets were found among the defendant's possessions. Apparently he was taking them in secret to quell his fears.
There were a multitude of problems with the rocket Mr. Starbuck rode 7 years ago. Rumor has it, it threatened to crash a number of times as well. That was of course very traumatic for Mr. Starbuck. But that doesn't mean he'd go so far as to blow up his own ship. The defendant couldn't bear to mar his good name, now could he? No, not after the media had branded him Soul Starbuck, Space Pioneer Extraordinaire. Given these conditions, the defendant could hardly run away like some base mutt. What, so that's why you think he resorted to the bombing? Naturally. He constructed this act of sabotage in an attempt to blow up the Space Center, which would effectively abort the launch, but spare his reputation.
Now I'm sure you understand why we have to bring justice down on this atrocious criminal. Thankfully, only the 2 astronauts were in Launch Pad 1 at the time.
Are you sure it was only the 2 of them?
It was just before the spaceship was set to launch, so of course, it was only those 2.
Ugh. Well, there could have been somebody else in that rocket. The notion of a third party in Launchpad 1 is utterly absurd. Just to enter the area from the lounge, one must pass through a door guarded by a fingerprint recognition device. And allow me to state up front that there are precious few with the clearance to do so.
Fingerprint recognition device? Sounds as futuristic and complex as the Space Center. Actually, it's not as amazing as you think, Your Honor. Take a look at this photo. This is the door in the lounge with the fingerprint lock. Only personnel whose fingerprints are registered can pass through. I see. That is very different from what I had in mind. And is there a record of the number of people that passed through that door yesterday? Yes, there were only three. The defendant, the victim, and the director of the Space Center, Yuri Cosmos.
Then doesn't that mean it's possible that the director is the one who did it? Not a chance. He was in the main building when the bomb exploded at 9:28, doing his job directing the launch. Besides, having an alibi, he has no motives for committing these senseless acts. He has a point. I guess the director can't be considered a suspect then. Alright, Launchpad 1 door lock. The two of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge. So while it would appear that the pair barely escaped with their lives, in actuality, one of them had already been murdered inside the rocket. That's the angle the prosecution wants to push, correct?
You got it. In fact, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. If the victim had been alive, he would have for sure tried to stop the bombing.
Is there any chance Mr. Terran could have been killed before he boarded the rocket?
They were both alive and well at boarding time, and embarked under their own power. Their hearts full of hopes and dreams of space.
And then both of their hopes and dreams were dashed.
If I may continue my explanation, after the evacuation order was given, the defendant made his escape carrying the victim to make it look like a rescue. But after the escape, one of the two was found stabbed to death.
And who was the first to find the victim?
Actually, there were two of them.
The Space Center director, Yuri Cosmos, and Detective Candace Arms. Oh, crap. The chick that died in the one case.
One of them was a detective? Yep. Detective Arm specializes in bombing, you see. She and the director were ordering the evacuation following the explosion. They were also worried about the astronauts, so they hurried over to the boarding lounge. That's when they discovered the victim along with the defendant.
Two witnesses, huh? And one of them is a detective. I doubt either one would have anything to say that would help me.
I think that pretty much covers the details of the case. Only the victim and the defendant were on the launch pad when the former was killed. If this is the truth, then only Mr. Starbuck could have carried out this crime.
What little I could get out of him only hurt my case. Justice, Dono. Foolish is the warrior who rushes headlong into battle. Preparation is an essential element of battle, so I advise you to take a gander at this. What is it? Footage from a security camera. As the two astronauts emerged from the bowels of the Launchpad 1 corridor. The boarding lounge security camera captured their desperate escape. Now I would direct your attention to what the defendant is shouldering, which you can see is none other than the lifeless body of the victim. What? He doesn't look like he has a stab wound, though, in that picture. And if it's a bombing, man, that means that Tonit was doing this before my case with Phoenix.
Order, I say.
Because that's Tonit's case.
This lines up exactly with what the prosecution has been asserting.
I should have known Blackwell would have something like this ready. Apollo, how exactly did they determine that Clay was already gone in that footage? Ah, I see what you mean. Whether Clay was still alive at that point is pretty crucial. Your Honor, please take another look at the footage. Isn't it possible that Mr. Terran was still alive here and that Mr. Starbuck was helping him?
Why, I believe you're right. One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.
Perhaps that's what it looks like to a one-eyed hothead and a dotard. But it only makes sense if it's the victim's dead body. What do you mean? Fulbright, explain it to Justice Dono.
You got it. Ready, kid? If the murder had occurred in the lounge, someone could have spotted it. Anyone can enter the lounge, after all. But doing it while they were alone in the spaceship? That's a horse of a different color.
But you can't deny that there's a possibility the murder could have happened in the lounge. All that video shows is a man helping his fellow astronaut out.
Silence.
Your assertion is based on emotion. It's based in your belief that Mr. Starbuck would surely help his own disciple. But you have no logical explanation as to why the victim could still be alive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Justice, the prosecution is right. Your argument is lacking in sound logic.
But it sounded perfectly logical to me.
Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further objections, I believe it's time to bring this cross-examination to a close.
Objections? Well, Your Honor, the defense requests a little time to think and regroup.
Given the facts, I'm not sure I see the need.
What is it, Athena? It's just, there's something that's been bothering me. If it isn't the defense stalling for time, as always. Very well. I'm feeling generous. You may have a small measure of time. Yes! You have 5 seconds. 5 seconds! After that, I declare this cross-examination to be closed, and a verdict to be rendered. Your baldness, raise your gavel high. It's time for a countdown.
Oh.
Ready? We don't have time. Spit it out, Athena.
Only 3 more seconds.
Ah! Look, I don't think the prosecution's explanation is very complete. Meaning? Meaning there's something missing. Like they conveniently left it unexplained. Something they didn't explain. Something they didn't explain. Ah! You're right. I think I know what you're talking about.
Your 5 seconds are up, Mr. Justice. Is there anything about the prosecution's argument that you'd like to rebut?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, there is. There's something the prosecution has yet to make clear to this court.
Well, if you put it that way. What is it that the prosecution has failed to explain?
Yeah, they didn't explain the motive for the murder. What? I thought they didn't explain it. Was I not listening? Okay. I thought they didn't. Why the body was moved? Yeah, why was it taken out of the ship? That is... They have failed to explain why Mr. Starbuck would bother bringing the body back at all. If the defendant wanted to kill the victim, why didn't he just leave his body in the rocket? Why go through the trouble of bringing him all the way back to the boarding lounge?
Oh, that's true.
I don't think we've heard the prosecution's thoughts on that yet. That's because they have none, Your Honor. After all, how does one explain something so illogical? The prosecution is claiming that the defendant moved the victim's dead body. But what if the entire premise of the argument is wrong?
Then let's hear your theory, Mr. Justice.
The defense proposes that the defendant didn't kill the victim. He was helping him. Ah! Fulbright, explain it for our sad friend here before I nod off to his monotone monologue. Inform him exactly why Spaceboy moved the victim. Huh? They've got to be joking.
It's simple. Mr. Starbuck did what he did to direct suspicion away from himself. He wanted to create the impression he heroically risked his life to save his partner. That's why he made sure to make it to the security camera so there'd be a record.
At the very least, he appears to have achieved success with you and the old man.
One man carrying the other to his safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.
The average person wearing a spacesuit weighs easily over 200 pounds. Saving the life of a partner who weighs as much while trying to escape deadly flames. What a dramatic sob story fit for the silver screen.
Indeed. I was completely taken in by the humanity of the story.
You see? Yet the true ending is that all traces of his hammy act were meant to be blown up. Yes, and now we arrive at the thrilling conclusion. The third explosion. What are you talking about? There was no third explosion. Indeed, you are correct. But that is thanks to Detective Arm. It was she who identified and secured the bomb. However, it doesn't change the fact that the third bomb was discovered in the lounge. The steel coffin beside the witness stand, that would be a bomb transport case. We used that to transport the deactivated bomb here. It was found in the lounge. A bomb in the form of a most distasteful toy. Oh my god, the bum wrap briny thing. What? One on the second floor of the main building, one on the launch pad, and one in the lounge. The defendant planned to set off 3 firework displays. Fortunately, the third was discovered before it could be detonated, for had it not, the victim's body and other vital evidence would surely have been immolated.
Objection!
Before you utter a word, know that the evidence supports me. It's like he's reading my mind. As it is still undergoing forensic investigation, I do not have the evidence on hand. However, know that a peculiar item was found in one of Mr. Starbuck's pockets. Specifically, a bomb detonation switch. You found what? You found what? I suspect the defendant had no time to destroy such damning evidence when the Space Center director and Detective Arms stumbled across the murder, so he thought to hide it in his pocket. Feeble-brained that he is. No, Mr. Starbuck would never do anything like that. No! Damn. Justice Dono, open your eyes and see the truth.
This appears to be irrefutable evidence that the accused set off the explosion.
No, there has to be some kind of mistake. This can't be the truth. Still can't accept it. You believe in your client, come what may. Then why don't you cross-examine the defendant himself? This has got to be a trap. It's like Blackwell's controlling the entire game. Yeah. It seems like he is waiting for me to bring up the body-moving issue. Why do you say that? Because he had just the right argument with when I pointed it out. And to really rub it in, he had a decisive piece of evidence up his sleeve, too. He was trying to shake my faith in Mr. Starbuck and break me down. Then making you cross-examine Mr. Starbuck at this point was part of his plan, too? Totally underhanded, but I wouldn't expect anything less from him. Now, let us hear from the arch-villain, the fiendish murderer himself. Famed astronaut Solomon Starbuck.
Witness, your name and occupation, please.
Solomon Starbuck, astronaut. How did this happen?
Mr. Starbuck, you aren't looking very well. Will you be able to give testimony?
No.
Well, unfortunately, no is not an option. You're being accused of the Space Center bombing and the murder of Clay Terran. Please testify to these allegations.
Mind if I take this suit off? It's getting really heavy. It's not the weight of the suit that you feel, but of your sins. Prepare to carry that weight for the rest of your life. Banish me to the moon. I don't care anymore. Wow, that was super negative. Is he going to be alright up there? He'll be fine, I think. As long as he doesn't totally give up and say he did it, that is. Yeah, that would screw us over completely. We're already losing this case as is. I didn't kill him. All I did was support Clay over my shoulder and get us out of the rocket. Like always, I took the elevator down to the middle level and headed for the corridor. Clay had passed out by the time we got the order to evacuate. I didn't kill Clay. I was trying to save him.
So you assert you didn't set off the bombs or murder the victim?
But I bet you think I'm lying, right?
I reserve all judgment until after I've heard your full testimony.
I'm sure you don't believe me. I bet you don't even believe I'm an astronaut. I don't think the judge doubts that. Who'd wear a suit like that except an astronaut?
I will say that when I saw you in that movie, you appeared quite courageous, though I suppose reality never quite lives up to the fantasy.
Yeah. Guess I'm just a big disappointment. I really don't care what happens anymore. Oh no, he's completely given up.
What a depressing fellow. If you were to join me in the clink, I imagine that annoying sighing of yours would rub off on the other inmates.
Like how it rubbed off on Prosecutor Blackwell a second ago?
Huh? That was Blackwell sighing. Mr. Starbuck's testimony contains a glaring contradiction. The question is, what does it mean? Even if Mr. Starbuck is my client, I can't be gun-shy. Now, it's time to find out the truth. Is that the elevator inside the launch pad area?
That's right. We always use it to get in and from the cockpit.
That makes sense. So he was just using the route he was always used, in spite of the fact that there had just been an explosion? Huh? I think Mr. Starbuck is hiding something. Something pretty big.
Clay had passed out by the time we got the order to evacuate. What kind of info do I have here, anyway? I don't have much.
Objection!
No! Damn it! I thought because the power outage, he couldn't have taken the elevator, right? I guess not. Alright.
Hold it!
Passed out. Why was he passed out? Probably because of the explosion. The noise and vibration were incredible. It's little wonder a person would pass out, right? I guess. Not that I'd know. Ah! I've been hit by space debris. The main engine's on fire. It's gonna blow. Nah! Yes, I see. I guess it does make sense that someone would pass out. Especially if the person in question is Mr. Starbuck. Anyway. I was trying to save him.
Hold it!
Don't worry. I understand. I'll make sure everything turns out alright. But everyone's glaring at me like I did it. Apollo, you have to reassure him better. How am I supposed to do that? Try to imagine how he's feeling and use that to figure out how to boost his confidence. Mr. Starbuck, think back to what Clay used to always say. It's times like these when he would repeat, "I'm fine," to himself. I'm fine? Yeah, I guess he did say that a lot. But even if I shout it, Clay will still be dead. What's the use? Can somebody please reassure me now? Apollo, there's something strange about Mr. Starbuck's testimony. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. There's a glaring contradiction. Guess I'll have to show some evidence. Did he?
Objection!
No, okay. I was just a little confused there. Yeah, whatever. There's a glaring contradiction. I need to find it out. The contradiction is on that elevator thing. It's here. He took the elevator down and headed to the corridor. Like always.
Objection!
But this contradicts it because the elevator was where the explosion hit most. Mr. Starbuck, I need your testimony to be as accurate as possible. What, was I not being accurate? No, because it's impossible for you to have taken the elevator down to the middle level.
What makes you say that, Mr. Justice?
Please recall where the bomb went off in Launch Pad 1. Also recall that after the explosion, the middle level elevator was engulfed in flames.
Oh, you're right. Which means...
Exactly. The launch pad's elevator would have been unusable, in other words. Mr. Starbuck, your statement is decidedly inconsistent with the facts. What's with the helmet? Mission Command! Mission Command, do you read me? Come in, please! This is Mission Command. I order you to pay attention! Stop this nonsense and answer my questions, Mr. Starbuck. My helmet. My oxygen tank. Oxygen concentration and body temperature declining. Requesting medical assistance. Gag. And he fainted.
Mr. Starbuck, we are not in space right now. Please stop pretending you have lost consciousness and stand back up.
I apologize, Your Honor. I forgot I was still on Earth. I feel like we all just got a real glimpse of Solomon Starbuck, the astronaut. Yeah, he seemed more like an astronaut now than when he was doing all this sighing. Mr. Starbuck, could you please explain the inconsistencies in your statement about how you use the middle level elevator? I was nervous and I said the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I actually took a different route, I think. A different route? I hope you're able to deliver a straight story this time. I'll get it right this time. Maybe. No, I mean probably. Probably?
It's understandable to be nervous, but let me remind you, accuracy is paramount in court.
My escape route. Let's see. My escape route. What I said before was a mistake. I remember now. I took a different route. Maybe, probably, with the capsule and clay in my arms, I made my way down from the upper level. So you're saying you escaped without using the elevator? That's right. There's a ladder that spans the upper and middle levels. I used that ladder to get to the middle level. Luckily, the fire hadn't reached the ladder, so we could make our escape that way. How could he get down the ladder while carrying, the capsule and Terran? And the capsule you mentioned, I suppose you mean the thing next to Mr. Terran here? Was that capsule that important that you'd risk your life to take it with you? It almost goes without saying, but yeah, that capsule contains asteroid samples. Therefore, it's invaluable as research material. With his spacesuit on, Clay weighed a ton, but securing the capsule was also important. I need you to answer to the best of your ability. Mr. Starbuck, please remember that your verdict is riding on your testimony. Maybe I am guilty after all. I wonder if you can see the stars in prison, but it's more comfortable than a spaceship. Our second cross-examination. He made his way down to from the upper level. Well, that's right, because he has the capsule in hand with Clay. What else do I have on here? The upper level of the launch pad area. That's right. That's what I said, isn't it? Granted, that route does exist. So the recap, you had Clay over your right shoulder and the capsule in your left hand. Yeah, it's really important, so I couldn't let it get burned up. So even though Clay was really heavy, I couldn't afford to carry him with both hands. I did the best I could with him over one shoulder and the capsule in my other hand. He must have weighed over 200 pounds just by himself. Yeah, and he had to support Clay, who was another 200 pounds. Plus he had to ensure the safety of that capsule. I don't think I could have even walked under those circumstances. Walking straight forward is probably about all I would have been able to manage. It's this statement that's wrong. But what is wrong with it? Damn it, I don't know what's wrong with this statement. Let me press it again. Oh, damn it, why do I keep doing that? Let's press these other ones just for the heck of it. How could you make such a basic fact? Hey, everybody makes mistakes, but try thinking about the vastness of space instead. From Earth, it takes 4 light years to travel to our nearest neighboring star. So you see, compared to the vast expanses of space, human error is insignificant. I wish you'd consider it just a little more significant than 0. Enough jabber. Get on with your testimony. Maybe. Probably. Did I hear you right, Mr. Starbuck? I didn't say either of those things. Mission Control, come in, please. An error has occurred in the sound system. Activate the emergency tin can telephone. No! No! Tin can telephones are ineffective in the vacuum of space. Stop this nonsense or I will sever you and your tin can telephone. Alright, I'm begging you, I'll tell the truth. So about when we were running away. It's this testimony. I just don't know what I have to present here. What I want to do is see what Apollo says, because I keep skipping it. Okay. I don't know why we don't have that can and the you know, the evidence stuff. I'm lost again.
Objection!
Mr. Starbuck, why don't you just tell the truth? The truth? Let's see. The Earth is blue? No, that's not right. So, I guess the Earth isn't blue. Yeah, that's it. The truth, Mr. Starbuck. Grah! The oxygen concentration is super low in this area. Prepare the emergency oxygen tanks.
Mr. Justice, the witness appears confused. Please help draw out the truth from him.
Mr. Starbuck, under the circumstances at the time, you couldn't possibly have reached the boarding lounge via the upper level route. Not as long as this was along the escape route. What was along the escape route? I don't know. So that he left here. The thing blew up in that vicinity of the area. I don't know, I'm lost. I'm lost! gonna lose this one. Definitely gonna lose it, because I'm lost. I don't get it. This is very confusing. Not as long as this was along the escape route. That was my last thingy bobber. Yeah. It's confusing. Not as long as this was along the escape route. He says that he got up from here and then he took the ladder down. What was along the escape route? Would it be these? No? Is it the ladder? Because what I was thinking in the beginning was, how could he carry a person and carry the thing down that ladder? It better not be the ladder. Because I was thinking that in the beginning. Yes, it is. Wow. To get down from the upper to the middle level, where the Launchpad 1 corridor is, you would have to go down the ladder. Isn't that right, Mr. Starbuck? Of course. That was the only way we could escape. But how would that work? At the time, you were supporting Mr. Terran over your shoulder, were you not? And remember, he was in full space gear as well, putting him at over 200 pounds. Well, it's easy on the moon. Gravity is only 1/6 of what it is on Earth. But the Space Center is located on Earth. Short of being an octopus climbing a ladder with an adult male in space gear in one arm, while carrying the capsule in your other, is impossible, wouldn't you say? Oh. So, Mr. Starbuck, how exactly did you climb down that ladder with your arms full? Mr. Starbuck, come clean and tell us the truth, now! Engineer, where's the engineer? Oxygen leak detected due to faulty maintenance. What the? He's flying the coop! Help! I'm caught on the ceiling. Help, anyone?
Bailiff, prepare the cherry picker. We must launch our rescue mission at once.
Well, that's one way to take off while being questioned. I'd rather prove his innocence so he can go to space again someday for real.
Now then, Mr. Starbuck, do you think you can keep your feet planted on the ground?
Yes, I apologize for losing control. Are you ready to tell us the truth? Not that. Anything but that. What is going on? This isn't the Mr. Starbuck I know. It appears Spaceboy is prone to deception. Witness. Yikes. Yes? I thought your story odd, but perhaps the inconsistencies can be explained as the result of a medical side effect? Prosecutor Blackwell, please. Please don't talk about that. What are you talking about, Prosecutor Blackwell? Didn't I already state that Spaceboy is ironically terrified of going into space? That's why he took some precautions just before the launch. For you see, traces of this anti-anxiety drug were found in his system. Oh? I sense things are about to nosedive. You got it all wrong. I told him during the investigation, too. I don't know anything about any drugs. I never took any medication, I swear. It was found in his system, but he doesn't remember taking it? How could that be? Somebody must have slipped them into me. But I guess maybe that's why I don't remember. Because of the side effects. Yeah, that's why I don't remember much about what really happened. What? So someone slipped them into him, and that's why he doesn't remember. Order! Order in the court! We can't get any useful testimony out of him if he doesn't remember anything. Well, this certainly explains why his testimony kept changing. Why didn't he just tell me he couldn't remember? I guess he didn't want anybody to find out. He was terrified of going into space. Maybe I really did do it. Which brings us to the answer of our original question. Of how the witnesses climbed down the ladder with the dead body. It does. So what is it? A dead man feels no pain and makes no complaints, Justice Donald. So the body was simply dropped down from the top of the ladder. Oh my, I see. And then the defendant could climb down with his free hands? Drop the body down? Who would do such a disrespectful thing? Besides, dropping the body down would leave marks on the body itself. So you are capable of quick thinking. Yes, you are correct. Really? Oh, thanks. Huh? What's this? It's the oxygen tank from the victim's spacesuit. It's ruptured, and I'm sure you can figure out why. You can't be implying it ruptured when the defendant dropped the victim's body. I am. For they fracture easily when struck. Even if that's true, the tank's explosion and shrapnel would leave its mark on the body. Yet according to the autopsy report, only the knife wound was found on the victim's body. You're clearly grasping at straws with this line of reasoning. A spacesuit isn't heavy for the sake of being heavy, Justice Tunnel. It includes the latest technological devices and is made of the fabric of tomorrow. This fabric is made to protect astronauts from the dangers of space. So falling a few Earth yards would hardly leave a mark on the wearer. Then shouldn't it be impossible to stab someone through it as well? It should. And yet, through sheer coincidence, the knife slipped through a weak spot in the suit's structure and found its way to its target. What are the chances? You forget that our killer is an astronaut himself with knowledge of how the suit works. He's got me there. And now my argument has been proven. Spaceboy killed the victim in the rocket and then dropped his body from the upper level. After climbing down, he shouldered the body and made sure the camera recorded them. There's no room about the facts. It is clear that Solomon Starbuck is the only one who could have killed Clay Terran. Here, the report regarding the astronauts' oxygen tanks. Consider it my send-off gift. Feel free to use it as payment to cross the river Styx. Hey, this report is pretty detailed. The display on the astronaut's left shoulder... Let's see, the display on the astronaut's left shoulder shows how much oxygen remains. I guess that means these glowing cyan digits represent the amount of oxygen remaining. I'm done for. I'm going to prison instead of space. Spaceboy. Yes. Take heart. The bejeweled night sky is still beautiful even when viewed through bars. You mean the stars as seen from prison? That's right. Your cell will be your spaceship. Picture the view through the iron bars. It's like being an astronaut in your own craft for all time. That's not half bad thought. Not a half bad thought. Mr. Starbuck. Prosecutor Blackwell got to him good. Spaceship prison cell. Fly me, my guilt, and my despair into the deepest, darkest space. And then, let's get sucked into a black hole together. Mr. Starbuck, you can't give up hope. Oh. Yes, Apollo? You know Clay really looked up to you. He said you are an incredible man. He said you'd never give up your dreams and passion for space, no matter the situation. He said that? So don't give up now, and help me prove your innocence. For the sake of the man who respected you and believed in you, Clay Terran. For Clay... You're wasting your breath. Rah! Rah! Grah! Apollo, thank you. I can see things clearly now. Mr. Starbuck, I'm fine now. Thanks for reminding me of my life's mission. Right. We'll both be fine. I'll prove you're innocent. You'll see. And after that, we'll get you back into space. Rah! You've ignited the booster rockets of my soul. I'm on fire. I am Solomon Starbuck, astronaut, a cosmic hero chosen by the universe itself. This is no time to be whimpering and crying. I can't let you and Clay down. Balderdash. The sun, the moon, all of space is calling me. Solomon Soul Starbuck, ready for launch. Begin to count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off! Holy crap, he just like floated a little bit.
Well, I feel like I've witnessed an actual rocket launch.
Apollo, you did it! You broke Prosecutor Blackwell's grip over Mr. Starbuck. I can't take the credit. It was all Mr. Starbuck. He pulled himself through. If you simpletons are done massaging one another's egos. No matter how positive your mood, my advantage remains unshakable. I have but to wait for the final guilty verdict. Isn't that right, your baldness? Gah, I can't let up now. I have to stop Blackwell. I have to see this through. Mr. Starbuck just has to make it back into space. I won't allow Clay's dream to remain unfulfilled. I've got to destroy Blackwell's argument somehow. Think, Justice, think! If the only people at Launchpad 1 were Clay and Mr. Starbuck, and if Clay was already dead by the time this footage was taken, then the only person who could have killed him is Mr. Starbuck. So the only way to counter Blackwell's argument is, if I can prove that Clay was still alive when they arrived at the boarding lounge, in which case I should be able to find some contradiction in the evidence itself. Now let's see, about this data that we just received. This supposedly proves that Mr. Starbuck dropped Clay's body in Launchpad 1. But if I'm going to prove that false, then there must be something I can use here. Enough of this farce, your baldness. Let's have your verdict. Prosecutor Blackwell, you seem to be in quite a hurry to rush the verdict. But about this oxygen tank data you submitted just now. It says that Mr. Starbuck's tank had 80% remaining, while Mr. Terran's had 0. Do you stand by the accuracy of this report? Of course. Then I guess it simply means that it's faulty, as evidence goes. You will explain what you mean, Justice Dono. It's simple. This evidence contradicts the facts of this case. Take a look here at the detailed description and you'll see what I mean.
I hope you have some evidence, Mr. Justice, because I don't see what's so contradictory.
Yes, Your Honor. Right away. This is the evidence that the oxygen tank report stands in contradiction to.
And how does this evidence present a contradiction?
The problem is this part here. Right there, the 50 that's on his shoulder. Note the remaining oxygen in Mr. Starbuck's tank as he carries Mr. Terran.
It appears to say 50.
Yes, but according to the data, our client's tank had 80% remaining.
The oxygen in the tank increased.
I see. Your Honor finds it as strange as I do. It's bad enough that there is a contradiction, but the increase in oxygen is beyond illogical.
Oh my, you're absolutely right. What is going on here?
I too find it odd, but I find it odd that the oxygen remaining has increased. It would be as odd as if my rations were to increase. But what does that prove? It doesn't change the fact that it is the defendant carrying the victim's corpse. I'm going to bet you don't get more rations because you don't abide by the rules. Either way, the oxygen remaining shouldn't increase just as your rations don't increase. Therefore, this new information is critical. We can't overlook it. In that case, do you have an answer to this riddle of the mysteriously increasing oxygen? You better not disappoint, or I'll declare the inconsistency as mere equipment malfunction.
Prosecutor Blackwell has a point. I suppose it could be a simple malfunction. Mr. Justice, if you cannot provide an adequate counter-argument to this point, I'm afraid I must bring this trial to an end. So do you think you can explain why the remaining oxygen level increased?
Of course I can. The thing to do at a time like this is to turn my thinking around. Mr. Starbuck has no memory of it, but he claims to have carried clay. So this man with the 50% on his tank ought to be Mr. Starbuck. But if anything, the display on his oxygen tank should have shown an 80. This is a clear contradiction between the report and the security footage. So what I should be asking is not why did the oxygen level increase, but what had to have happened to make it look like it increased. Am I making some kind of mistake in my base assumptions here?
Well, Mr. Justice, we're waiting.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm ready to answer. This is why the remaining oxygen appears to have increased. Was the victim carrying the defendant? What if it was the other way around?
The other way around? Would you care to explain, Mr. Justice?
As you can see, Your Honor, both men had their helmets on in this footage. But it turns out, this is where our base assumption went astray. We assumed that it was Mr. Starbuck helping Mr. Terran, but it was the other way around. It wasn't Mr. Starbuck helping Mr. Terran at all. It was Mr. Terran who was helping Mr. Starbuck to the boarding lounge.
It was? Order! Mr. Justice! You mean to tell me that the person on the right in this image is the victim, Clay Terran?
It's the only way the riddle of the increasing oxygen level can be solved, Your Honor. At this point in time, the remaining oxygen in the victim's tank was at 50%. And when the victim was found in the boarding lounge, his tank was at 0%. That's right. There's nothing contradictory about the oxygen level decreasing. This means Mr. Terran was alive as they made their escape to the lounge.
Silence.
How short your memory is. Have you forgotten what you yourself proposed? Even if the victim was alive at this point in time. How did he descend the ladder with his arms full?
Objection!
Prosecutor Blackwell, you can't hurt me with a broken blade. Excuse me? It's true that we don't know how they got down the ladder. I suppose that matter needs further investigating. But we have proven that Mr. Terran was alive when he reached the boarding lounge. This fact alone shatters your claims and opens up the possibility that the victim could have been killed by a third party. Grah! There were 2 people who claimed to be the first on the scene. But can we truly trust their statements? Let's see. The 2 people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, it's certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging.
Seems we'll have to hear the testimony of these first 2 people on the scene.
Score!
Come to think of it, Detective Arms should be here in court right now. Bailiff, could you please show Detective Arms to the stand?
This bastard. I have an announcement, everyone.
What's the meaning of this? We're in the middle of a trial here.
Please remain calm and listen carefully. Someone has reactivated the bomb. The bomb was defused, but it's about to explode. It's...
Oh!
A bomb. Now? Ah! Everybody run! Eek! I don't want to die. Oh no! Everybody's panicking. Stupid ass Mr. Tonit, I hate him. Headless chickens with a death wish, the lot of you. Calm yourself, a fool. Come on, Apollo, let's get out of here. But what about Mr. Starbuck's dream? And who will carry out Clay's final wish? I don't care what happens to me. I'm not letting some bomb blow the truth up forever. I refuse to let things end here. Apollo, this is no time to be dramatic. If we don't get out of here now, we're gonna die. Come on, this way. Hey, ouch. Let me go. Apollo. Juniper. She hasn't evacuated yet. Eek. This is what happened in, before the one case where he protected her. Juniper, are you alright? Apollo, no. Not that way. Ah! And that's when the courtroom got blown up. To be continued. Alright. In the next part, we start the first day of investigating. See you then.